Penrod and Sam by Booth Tarkington. Chapter 1. Penrod and Sam. During the daylight hours of several autumn Saturdays there have been severe outbreaks of cavalry in the Schofield neighbourhood. The sabres were of wood, the steeds were imaginary, and both were employed in a game called Bonded Prisoner by its inventors, Masters Penrod Schofield and Samuel Williams. The pastime was not intricate. When two enemies met, they fenced spectacularly until the person of one or the other was touched by the opposing weapon. Then, when the ensuing claims of foul play had been disallowed and the subsequent argument settled, the combatant touched was considered to be a prisoner until such time as he might be touched by the hilt of a sword belonging to one of his own party, which effected his release and restored to him the full enjoyment of hostile activity. Pending such rescue, however, he was obliged to accompany the forces of his captor whithersoever their strategical necessities led them, which included many strange places. For the game was exciting, and at its highest pitch would sweep out of an alley into a stable, out of that stable and into a yard, out of that yard and into a house, and through that house with the sound and effect upon furniture of trampling herds. In fact, this very similarity must have been in the mind of the distressed colored woman in Mrs. Williams's kitchen, when she declared that she might just as well try to cook rat's fang in the middle of the stockyards. All up and down the neighborhood the campaigns were waged, accompanied by the martial clashing of wood upon wood and by many clamorous arguments. "You're a prisoner, Roddy Bits!" "I am not!" "You are too! I touched you!" "Where, I'd like to know?" "On the sleeve." "You did not. I never felt it." "I guess I'd have felt it, wouldn't I?" "What if you didn't? I touched you and you're bonded. I leave it to Sam Williams." "Yeah, of course you would. He's on your side. I leave it to Herman." "No, you won't. If you can't show any sense about it, we'll do it over, and I guess you'll see whether you feel it or not. There, now I guess squash." Strangely enough, the undoubted champion proved to be the youngest and darkest of all the combatants, one Verman, colored, brother to Herman, and subsequently under the size to which his 9 years entitled him. Verman was unfortunately tongue-tied, but he was valiant beyond all others, and in spite of every handicap, he became at once the chief support of his own party and the despair of the opposition. On the third Saturday, this opposition had been worn down by the successive captures of Maurice Levy and Georgie Bassett until it consisted of only Sam Williams and Penrod. Hence, it behooved these two to be wary, lest they be wiped out altogether. And Sam was dismayed indeed upon cautiously scouting around a corner of his own stable to find himself face to face with the valorous and skillful Verman, who was acting as an outpost or picket of the enemy. Verman immediately fell upon Sam, horse and foot, and Sam would have fled but dared not, for fear he might be touched from the rear. Therefore he defended himself as best he could, and there followed a lusty whacking, in the course of which Verman's hat, a relic and too large, fell from his head, touching Sam's weapon in falling. "There!" panted Sam, desisting immediately. "That counts! You're bonded, Verman!" "Me were?" Verman protested. Interpreting this as "ain't neither," Sam invented a law to suit the occasion. "Yes, you are. That's the rule, Verman. I touched your hat with my sword, and your hat's just the same as you." "Mop," Verman insisted. "Yes, it is," said Sam, already warmly convinced by his own statement that he was in the right. "Listen here. If I hit you on the shoe, it would be the same as hitting you, wouldn't it? I guess it'd count if I hit you on the shoe, wouldn't it? Well, a hat's just the same as shoes. Honest, that's the rule, Verman, and you're a prisoner." Now, in the arguing part of the game, Verman's impediment cooperated with a native amiability to render him far less effective than in the actual combat. He chuckled and ceded the point. "Why," he said, and cheerfully followed his captor to a hidden place among some bushes in the front yard, where Penrod lurked. "Looky what I got," Sam said importantly, pushing his captive into this retreat. "Now I guess you won't say I'm not so much use any more. Squat down, Verman, so's they can't see you if they're hunting for us. That's one of the rules, honest. You got to squat when we tell you to." Verman was agreeable. He squatted, and then began to laugh uproariously. "Stop that noise!" Penrod commanded. "You want to betray us? What you laughing at?" "Mac and mimip," Verman giggled. "What's that mean?" Sam asked. Penrod was more familiar with Verman's utterance, and he interpreted. "He says they'll get him back in a minute." "No, they won't. I'd just like to see." "Yes, they
Sample complete. Ready to continue?